I cannot believe this. Brighton 3, Tottenham 2. What happened in that second half? Because the first half, Tottenham were incredible. I filmed my match reaction to the Manchester United Aston Villa game at half time. And in my match reaction, I was saying, Tottenham are 2-0 up, they're playing fantastic football. This is Ange's second season. I can see the progress he's making. And I was comparing it to Ten Hag because I was, moaning about Manchester United. I don't know if I've jinxed it because I've put that video out and now every comment is saying, let's check the Spurs score. I don't know if I jinxed it, but the way Tottenham were in that first half was incredible. I was sitting there like, I am so jealous of what's going on at Tottenham. And I do think for the most part, I know a few results haven't gone Tottenham's way, but I think we are seeing progress under Ange for Tottenham. I think Tottenham have sometimes not got results in games, but I think, they should have probably got 3 points versus Leicester. I think if they were more clinical, they could have got 3 points versus Newcastle. And that second half versus Tottenham was a proper performance. It was proper Ange ball. So that first half, but that second half was shambolic. It was Brighton came up, they refreshed the midfield, they had the energy, they had the legs. It seemed mental. It seemed like a mentality thing. Now, if you look at the sort of statistics, Brighton had 4 big chances to Tottenham's 1. XG was relatively similar. Tottenham had more possession. Tottenham had dominated possession every game this season. But those Spursy defensive mistakes and those Spursy moments, bottling a lead, was still in Tottenham. And it's crazy because I felt that you were unbelievable in the first half. Kulusevski, Solanke, I'm going to talk about the first half performances because they were incredible. To then in the second half, giving the ball away. Now, I'm going to be honest, this is my perspective as a Manchester United fan. I didn't watch the Europa League game the other day, so I don't know how that went. Although I saw a highlight of Mikey Moore and he looked quite good in that game. But I don't think today was completely on Ange. I think Ange should have made his substitutions earlier. He should be making the substitutions at 2-2, not waiting for you to go 3-2 down to make it, because when it's 2-2, it was coming. Brighton came out in that second half faster. They got the early goal. They were on it. That gave them momentum. They made it 2-2. If I'm Ange, I'm making the subs there and then. I'm not waiting until 3-2. That, I think, is what Ange got wrong. Potentially Moore could start over Werner. That's, I think, what Ange got wrong. But I do feel that was more on the players than the manager today. I think Ange could have done better with his substitutions. But if you look at the first half performance and how Ange set Tottenham up, they were fantastic. They were 2-0 up. And I felt that in the second half, Tottenham thought it was going to be easy. Brighton made some changes. Brighton were up for it. And Tottenham was sort of shocked. And in the second half, they couldn't get the ball to Solanke. They weren't making things happen. And I felt that actually, the goals that Tottenham conceded came really through individual errors. Ange gets a lot of stick for how he sets Tottenham up very offensively, and he does set Tottenham up offensively, so they can be a little bit vulnerable defensively. But I felt Udogi's been very poor lately. He could have done better. I think the players switched off a little bit at the back, and I think Brighton's goals, I think, were preventable had Udogi not made that little mistake, or had Tottenham been a bit more switched on. I think Tottenham could have done better defensively. But I do think Ange should have made his subs earlier. Now, I want to be honest, Brennan Johnson scores again, confidence, he's looking good. I thought Solanke and Kulusevski were incredible at first. They were fantastic, and I wrote loads about them in the first half, which feels like because of the second half, I think Tottenham will be like, oh, the first half doesn't matter. I apologise for that lag. I completely lagged out there. But what I was trying to say is I think, Tottenham fans, because of how the second half went, I think what was done by Solanke and what was done by Kulusevski in the first half, I think Tottenham fans are sort of like, because the second half performance is overshadowed, I think a lot of big positives from the first half. Now, I think Udogi's been quite poor this season. Now, I like Destiny Udogi. I think he's a fantastic player. I think he was one of the best left-backs in the Premier League last season. And I still think he's an unbelievable player. I would take him at Manchester United. But I don't think he's been at his best this season. And I think Ange made a big mistake not having Spence in the Europa League squad, because that's going to put that pressure on Udogi to run him down to the ground. He had a big injury at the end of last season. I think Ange was a bit silly not to take Spence in the Europa League squad, because I think that Spence looked all right in pre-season. I don't think Spencer's looked too bad. And I think he's a player that, in terms of his athletic characteristics, I know his work rate and his mentality has been questioned, but I think he could do a job under Ange. But going back to Tottenham, I think it was defensive errors. I think it was lapses in concentration that cost Tottenham today. I think Matoma was unbelievable for Brighton. And I will say this, Matoma's an Ange Postecoglou player. You know what? I think Tottenham not getting Eze probably has worked well for you guys, because I think Maddison and Kulu had good seasons and Eze's more of a central player. But I think the guy that Tottenham maybe needed was Matoma. Maybe Matoma was the one, because I look at Tottenham and what they need on, and I think it is another winger to take the reliance off Son. And I know Mikey Moore's coming through, but he's so young. But if you had Son, Moore, Matoma, and Brennan Johnson, that's 4 really good wing options. Son sort of coming towards the end of his career. He's still got a few years left. And Mikey Moore's at the beginning. And then you've got 2 that are sort of in the prime. But I think that's very good wing options for Tottenham. I thought Matoma was fantastic. I think he's a proper Ange player. And you could see the issues he was causing Tottenham. And I think, Tottenham did, lack that leadership and lack that response and crumble a little bit of mentality. But I do look at it. But generally, I'm going to talk about the first half performance from Solanke and Kulu, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about Tottenham. But I generally think that despite this, the first half was fantastic from Tottenham. I can see what Ange is trying to do. And I think Tottenham are a team that they're not in a title challenge. It's going to be hot and cold. But I still think Tottenham can finish in the Champions League place from what I've seen of them this season. I still think what Ange is doing all right. I just think Tottenham have got these moments in them, these Tottenham moments in them, if I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say one thing as well. It might be the Man United curse. Every team that has beaten us has lost their next game. Liverpool lost to Forest after beating Manchester United. Every team that's beaten us, which is most teams, Brighton lost their next game. I can't remember who it was after beating Manchester United. Tottenham beat Manchester United and lost their next game. There seems to be some kind of curse of, you don't want to beat Manchester United because you're going to lose your next game, believe it or not. But look, I thought Solanke in the first half was incredible, if I'm going to be honest. And I think because you got nothing in the second half and no service and didn't touch the ball in the second half, it could be overshadowed. But I thought his first half performance was incredible. I think for me, he was the standout player in the first half, him and Kulu, his passing, his hold-up play. I think he was key to both goals. Obviously, for the first goal, that really good ball into Johnson, perfectly weighted pass. For the second goal, he held up the ball really well. But with Solanke, I see this superb pressing, superb hold-up play. I thought he was fitting into the team. I thought the players around him looked good because he brought that focal point to Spurs. And he has got 2 goals and 3 goals and 2 assists in his last 4 starts at Tottenham. So very good statistics. And I felt that he was dropping deeper to what he used to do at Bournemouth. But I thought he was really linking with the wing as well in the first half. Second half was a bit of a different story, but I don't think that was on Solanke himself. But I thought in the first half he was relieving the pressure. He was helping the team get the ball out the pitch. His pressing, his carrying, his passing, his ability to create chances. I think he put in an all-round performance, and I think you could see exactly why Ange went for a Solanke over an Ivan Toney, but particularly with his pressing and all of that as well. But he's a very impactful striker. Even though he didn't score today, I thought he was fantastic in the first half. The play, the movement, drawing out space, drawing out defenders, winning fouls, holding possession, the little flicks, the little passes. I thought that he was really good, and I think he showcased his intelligence, his movement, and everything. And another guy I thought was really good, and to be honest, I don't think he had a bad second half. I felt that his ball retention was really good, and he was getting stuck in duels. He must have won quite a lot of duels, but I think Kulusevski's probably been having the most underrated season in the Premier League so far. I think pressing was relentless. I think he paired well with Maddison. I think him and Maddison work well together, but he is a little bit defensively weak. But I feel like Ange, has transformed him into the all-action midfielder that everyone thought Tottenham needed. Everyone thought Tottenham needed Eze, but I think Kulu has been Tottenham's best player this season in general. I think his work rate is unbelievable. He's always chasing people down. I think his ability to win duels, and when he wins the ball, he can retain it quite well because he's got that physical strength to hold off players. And I think his physicality and work rate is something that he brings that is really important. I think he can carry the ball, and him and Solanke worked well, but I think he really helps him build up. I think Romero, Kulu, Brennan, Porro, it was the right half space build up in the first half was the right side build up in the first half was fantastic from Tottenham. And Kulusevski, when he was in the tight spaces, can hold off the players, can turn. He was, helping there be fluid. But I just think it just sort of dropped off in the second half. And I thought that what Kulu did in the first half, the underlapping runs on the right, helping unlock the attack, helping the build up, the movement, the sink, it sort of phased out a little bit in the second half as Tottenham lost control and they went a little bit erratic. But I think Ange moving Kulu from a winger to a midfielder has been one of the smartest things he's done. But Spurs have issues. Saw this from the Spurs watch. This team could not defend unless we have complete control of games. The moment our backs are against the wall, we crumble. Leicester, Newcastle, Brighton. Tottenham's defensive mistakes have let them down this season from really, they could be on 6 more points this season if it wasn't for defensive errors, if you want my opinion. I think, you've had a very good, you guys have had very good moments in games, and I feel like you had a really good first half versus Leicester and a really good first half versus Brighton, but something's happening in the second half where mentally the switch goes. And then the issues come in, and it's like you can see what Ange is trying to do in the first half of the game, and it's really good. But then it goes, and it's Ange got to work on that, the players have got to work on that. But I think there's definitely a little bit of a mentality issue. Postecoglou said, we didn't do what we needed to do at the level. That's non-negotiable. We didn't compete, lost the duels, lacked the intensity. It doesn't matter where it came from. It's unacceptable. You're not going to win every game. But that's the first time I feel we lost the game in that manner. Ange said it was his worst game so far at Tottenham in that sense. I think to an element it was. I think Ange should have made his midfield substitutions a lot earlier, because Brighton made changes in midfield and they had that intensity, and I felt that was where Tottenham were losing the game, despite that midfield three looking very good against United. And at the end of the day, I think Ange could have made subs earlier, but I don't think it was all on Tottenham. I saw this. People watch the third goal and say Ange is naive, high line again, blah, blah, blah. But let's be honest, I think the individuals could have done better. Second goal, I think Udogie could have done better. And I think that, Ange is someone that should be given time at Tottenham. I think it can work. But I think Tottenham have got to get rid of these Spursy mistakes and mentality and lapses in concentration. Tottenham fans, let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.